Again, who are we? We're a technology company that was born in Orange County. We basically are backed by Orange County venture capital funds. We're basically generating jobs for Orange County. We're taking those systems integration people and putting them to work, building a new technology that has a worldwide marketplace. I will tell you this is a mixed blessing because one of the saddest things is hiring people these days. It's great for the person that's being hired. It's very sad for me. We put out an ad for people, and we literally are inundated with resumes, extreme high-quality people. And so one of the things that we take most pride in is that we're hiring local people. Our projects in the four-county area will generate tens of jobs over the coming year. Second, we are an environmental showcase. Our technology is breakthrough for AQMD. We can make the NOx requirements of 2012. We exceed them by a substantial amount. Therefore, delivering on the promise of a cleaner environment for all those in Orange County. And with that, I'll take questions. Yes.
Is this on? I hear this and I say President Obama should be rolling your program at every single landfill in the country, and we don't need to have any more AB 32s or any other similar laws. And there's work for a lot of people. I mean, it seems like a very good solution that could be rolled. It's like a best management practice to any landfill. So why don't we have it rolling throughout the whole country?
Well, two answers to that question. One is the company has just demonstrated in production environment the technology out at Lamb Canyon and Riverside County. Number two, we're deploying our initial systems to the U.S. military on a military landfill in Fort Benning, Georgia in February of next year. In summer of next year, we'll be delivering in volume, and at that time, we will be making those types of claims. We can tell you that the South Coast Air Quality Management personnel have measured our output and are quite pleased. When we dedicated the Land Canyon site, we had the Sierra Club, we had AQMD, as well as local universities, all and political leadership of Riverside County, all demonstrated and stated how important our technology is. And the last answer to your question is a press release we put out Friday. The promise is so good that the executive director of CleanTechOC is joining our company next Monday to be director of government affairs.
Yeah, very impressive. Question here. What kind of electricity are you able to generate with these systems?
We generate electricity that is then fed back into the power grid through standard power purchase agreements, much like the solar power purchase agreements that were talked about earlier. Our smaller systems generate 250 kilowatts of systems. Our larger ones in a year will be generating close to 2 megawatts of power per system. Multiple of those will install on an individual landfill. Differing from most other green energy solutions, I think it's important to note, we provide baseline power. Our systems run continuously, 24 hours a day. And so we generate power all the time. We don't need the sun to shine. We don't need the wind to blow. We basically are taking the trash that all of you throw too much away, including myself. When you back out of your driveway on trash day and see all the trash cans up and down the street, it's a national disgrace. But we take that, generate energy, and eliminate the need for imported oil in many respects. Yes?
Question over here to your right.
Okay.
Do you see Proposition 23 as being any sort of impediment to what you guys are trying to achieve?
I believe so. I think the problem is when we as a company attack the markets, we are attacking the markets with the assumption that we have to be commercially viable without government assistance. Okay? So we make all of our business models, et cetera, based on pure business practice. Now, California initiatives and methane reduction and surface emissions all are beneficial and help us strategically succeed. All of the government initiatives are only making our future brighter at Flex Energy. Great.
Thank you.
How expensive? The initial systems are approximately $3,400 per kilowatt, which is comparable to conventional systems installed. The difference, though, is our emissions are near zero.
Okay, terrific. Joe, thanks again. And now for the last speaker on this local success story panel, we have Arnold Klan, CEO of Blue Fire Renewables. Blue Fire Renewables converts cellulosic waste materials to ethanol. Their technology is extremely versatile, both in its ability to utilize a wide variety of feedstocks and in the end products that it can produce. Arnold Klan is the chairman, CEO, and president of Blue Fire. He has 30 years of experience in corporate management, project finance, engineering, design, construction, environmental permitting, and real estate acquisition, and he's been responsible for the successful development or acquisition of over 610 megawatts of natural gas-fired cogeneration facilities. Please join me in welcoming Arnold.
Good afternoon. Well, if I could have the first slide that comes up here after this one. Unfortunately, we are a publicly traded company without a safe harbor statement. So imagine, if you will, quantum safe harbor statement, which you saw for 10 milliseconds, and that's ours, okay? Anyway, and I will beat the person who put this presentation together when I get back to the office. We are a publicly traded company. We trade on the bulletin board as BFRE. We're known as the B free stock by the traders. The company was formed in 2006 as a spin-out of a company called Arcanol. Arcanol was started in 1992 specifically to develop technologies to act in conjunction with power plant development. And our primary company, if you want to look at it, our parent company is a company called Arc Energy, which was formed in 1989 specifically to develop, own, and operate power plants, sell electricity wholesale to the utilities. This technology has, like I said, it has its start in 1992, and as Blue Fire in 2010, we're an overnight success in just a tad under 18 years. So I'm glad to say that in terms of developing new technology. We have an experienced staff that's been through many types of development of various types of technologies, everything from you look at gasifiers to pyrolysis to many of the technologies that have been talked about today, particularly on the solar side. Many of our people were involved with the Luz project back in the 80s, which was one of the largest solar plants ever built here in California. And so we have a pretty good feel for what is going on in the energy industry, particularly what makes sense long-term, not only for electricity, but also for liquid fuels. Our technology is pretty agnostic to any of the feedstocks. So our primary business model is to put our plants either in or adjacent to existing landfill operations. Typically, that infrastructure already is in place to deliver the organic fraction of cellulose or of the trash stream every day to the landfill. And that's what we capture. We look for the green waste. We look for the non-recyclable papers, the wood waste, the C&D, that type of material. And because our technology is so robust, we can receive that in any form and any shape. We don't want the inorganics, but we do want the organics. And it's from that we can basically deconstruct the cellulose, which is a combination of sugars, the lignin, which is the glue that holds the sugars together, and then the inerts. And so our model is significantly different than if you're familiar with any of the other competing technologies out there in the cellulosic ethanol or the cellulosic advanced biofuels marketplace. Our technology is the only technology that has ever been demonstrated by a third party. In 2000, we licensed the technology to a Japanese company called JGC Corporation under a joint program with NETO, which is their equivalent to our DOE. They built a duplicate of our pilot plant in Japan in Orai, and then in Izumi, Japan in 2002, a production plant was built that was, for all intent and purposes, a pre-commercial plant for the Japanese marketplace. It was out of the success of demonstrating that our technology, in fact, worked, and worked economically, that Japan started blending ethanol into their gasoline mix in 2008. We are a recipient of an $88 million grant from the Department of Energy specifically to build commercial facilities. Now, if I can have the next slide. We are today a leader in the cellulosic ethanol development marketplace. We're fully licensed. We have two projects right now. One is in Lancaster, California, at the adjacent to the Lancaster landfill. We have contracts in place with Waste Management as well as with the City of Los Angeles to develop or deliver that organic fraction to us. The offtake on that project is also committed. It'll come into the LA Basin. And then on top of that, we have a company called Mastech. They're out of Florida, which will be building this facility. We have a second project in Fulton, Mississippi. That particular project is much larger than the one we're initially proposing here in California. That's a 19 million gallon a year ethanol plant. It takes in 770 bone-dry tons a day of waste material. That particular project is right now at the DOE. That's the one we have the grant for. We're working on the loan guarantee for that particular project. We should close financing before the end of the year. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that's going to be our first project. The state of Mississippi has been very aggressive in helping us finance that project. We've received over $50 million of additional support from the state. And what was great for all you developers who, and believe me, we've gone through the CEC and we've licensed more projects in California than I care to imagine. It is a breath of fresh air because they don't ask what's wrong with your project. They ask, how can we help you get your project done? And so this particular project in Mississippi, we have a 25 megawatt power plant that's embedded within the ethanol plant. The lignin that we extract when we extract the sugars is sufficient to produce that 25 megawatts. So we're in energy balance fundamentally in that particular project. And so we've had great help with TVA also on taking the offtake on that power. But we're more than a cellulosic ethanol company. We are truly a sugar-producing company, and this is key because our sugars are waste sugars. And so when you look at other chemicals and other things you can do with sugars, as we move from a hydrocarbon-based econometric model into a carbohydrate-based econometric model for our fuels and for our chemicals and that, we are the sugar supplier to all those other back-end technologies that are coming up with the different projects. And an example of this is a relationship we have with Solazyme. We rebuilt our pilot plant here in Orange County in 2009 up in Anaheim, specifically to supply sugars from waste streams. So we're getting that palm waste and wood waste and green waste. We're breaking that down to the sugars and then supplying them to Solazyme, which is up in the Bay Area. And they feed that to algae. But that algae grows in the dark. It's known as heterotrophic algae. They have tremendous production of bio-oil that's coming from that algae, and that's going into a biodiesel fuel. So we're much more than just ethanol. We're biodiesel. We're biojet fuel. We've been producing lactic acid at the pilot plant for PLAs, which are biodisposable plastics. So we'll be getting into that marketplace over time. That's why we changed the name of the company just recently, 6 weeks ago, to Blue Fire Renewables, because we're truly looking at the renewable structure of what we can do to replace everything that we're doing, from plastics on down to even we've produced already medical grade glucose through our technologies and some other food products like citric acid and that. So our pilot plant is operating today in Orange County here, and again, we're a company that was started in Orange County, based here.